All right, welcome, my friends, to episode 689 of Extreme Health Radio. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us on this awesome episode. This is going to be a cool show because we're going to talk with Jason Christoff about self-sabotage, mind control, and why we sabotage ourselves in just about all areas of life. So this is going to be really, really cool and good information to have and to apply to our lives. So I'll introduce him in just a second. If you're new to the show, we do shows every single Friday morning, and those are available on our YouTube channel as long as YouTube doesn't censor us or get rid of us. Usually that same day, and then the audio version comes out on Sunday night. And if you're subscribed to the podcast, you'll get a brand new episode every Sunday night, and then the other 6 days of the week are our best of archive shows. So we've done 688 other shows that just get sort of lost in the matrix. And so what we do is we rebroadcast those for shows 7 days a week. So those happen every other day except for Sunday. So make sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss any of those cool, awesome archive shows that we have. A lot of cool shows coming up. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do. Let me just tell you a little bit about who we have coming up. Next week, we've got Dr. Seth Gerlach, and we're going to talk about... I don't even know how to say these words because they want you to sort of self-censorship, right? The V word and health freedom and what the actual ingredients are in those vaccines. I'll just say the word. Then next week after that, we have Dr. David Steenblock, and we'll be talking about stem cell therapy, anti-aging, and a lot of cool stuff. And then the following Friday, we have Morley Robbins. And he's titled it 3 Ways Copper Can Harness Oxygen on Planet Earth. So we're going to talk about mineral balancing, copper and iron, and how copper is the only other mineral that reduces oxidation through iron. And so that's going to be a great show. The final Friday after that, Dr. Stuart Nunley. And that's going to be a great show. We're going to talk about holistic dentistry and how that affects our health as well. So make sure to subscribe. So today we've got Jason Christoff, and I've heard him on a number of different shows around the internet. And so they haven't completely scrubbed his work from the internet yet. So I'm sure he'll be scrubbed soon, just like me. But he's an awesome guy. He specializes in exercise, coaching, functional stretching, self-sabotage, healthy living principles, addiction, weight loss, and healing, all aspects of mind, body, spirit. And what's cool is that he has got a really great Instagram channel or account that you guys can follow. And he's got so much great information in there. So make sure to follow him on Instagram too. And it's just really cool to have him on the show. So let me bring him up and turn his audio on. Jason, can you hear me, I hope?
Yeah, I hear you, Justin. Thanks for having me on. Good introduction.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. No, your work is so awesome because it covers so many different aspects of just life on planet Earth. And like you said, I think in a different podcast, I heard you, you wear a ton of different hats, right? Trying to balance it all out.
Yeah, you kind of have to. I morphed into a self-sabotage coach. Basically, I used to be a very high-achieving exercise and diet coach from the Czech Institute, but what I found is that the average person is actually terrified to get in shape or terrified to be abundant, terrified to be wealthy. Not that I was doing any wealth coaching, but there's an invisible glass ceiling there, and I had to change gears, or I was still making great money. I just wasn't satisfied spiritually because no one I was training was really getting in shape. So I had to do something completely different.
Yeah, no, it's really wild, right? How we have these sort of subconscious programs that sabotage our health, right? I mean, this happens, I see a lot with people that are trying to overcome catastrophic diseases. But like you just mentioned, with wealth, with personal relationships, with family, there's like an underlying program that we all sort of follow and don't know, right?
Yeah, well, that's the interesting part. Is there is a part of the brain called the subconscious mind, and it gives us some rope, it gives us some leash to let us believe that we control our behavior. But if you investigate mind control, mind programming, brainwashing, self-sabotage, you will find the subconscious mind controls our behavior and does this without our conscious awareness. Our subconscious basically it's kind of like the tanning mechanism on our skin. I mean, we're not in control of the tanning mechanism when we go in the sun. We don't control our heartbeat. You can't consciously, a female can't consciously control her menstrual cycle. They're all controlled by the subconscious mind. Now, as hard it is hard for people to believe that our behavior does fall in that category, but it definitely falls in that category. And a lot of people have a hard time getting outside that sort of unconscious or subconscious control. Even for something like wealth, if you watch the Netflix show about Aaron Hernandez, I'm not too sure if you're aware, he was the receiver for the New England Patriots. He went to the Super Bowl with Tom Brady, and he was basically running a program, an anti-wealth and anti-success program in his subconscious. And even though he had a $50 million contract and bought a $3 million house, I'm not too sure if you're aware of Aaron Hernandez, but he went outside after his games and started shooting people, killing them on the side. And that would be a mind control program, a subconscious program. And repetitive content is really, really important in the mind control program. For example, just so that people can take an average everyday life situation, in 2001 there was a movie called Gone with 60 Seconds. Do you remember that, with Angelina Jolie and Nicolas Cage?
I do, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and it was a movie about car theft. And this part of the brain that sort of controls our behavior, it's a counter. It actually counts. Its job is to look through our eyes and listen through our ears and count repetition. And the reason it's obsessed with repetition is because the whole function of the subconscious is to make sure you're safe, secure, and so that your chances of survival are increased. The repetitive content that it sort of writes down on a piece of paper, and it writes that, it really scans the environment at a very high data point. I mean, it analyzes data through our eyes at 11 million pieces of info a second, and it's only looking for repetitive content because repetitive content denotes the bigger herd, and that's the bigger herd behavior that it established as safe because it counted the idea with the most repetitive counts, the belief system with the most repetitive counts. That's going to be pushed towards you more like a script to act out, while the average person believes they're in control of their behavior through careful consideration of their life options. But this Gone in 60 Seconds movie is just a very small sliver. An example we can give people: when that movie was released in Burnaby, BC, Canada, car theft went up 65% in the first 10 days.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't understanding that this is how their behavior is manufactured outside their conscious control through repetitive content, downloaded through the eyes and downloaded through the audio centers.
So it's really interesting. So repetitive content, does that mean like repetitive content that maybe like thoughts you have, like things you think about all the time?
Yeah, this part of the brain is being tested. It doesn't know the difference between real life, which can sometimes give negative role modeling all on its own. And then it doesn't know the difference between real life screen time, and it doesn't know imagined thought. So if there was someone, say, was abused when they were 5 years old, mentally abused, they were told they're not a good person, they're born a sinner, they're worthless. They can leave that house, but those repetitive thoughts or those repetitive sayings that were frequent in the household, the person can bring those negative thoughts with them into their adulthood, and they can continue the programming on their own of their own behavior. And they can also pick up supportive repetitive content from the media, because let's just say it's about wealth. I mean, there isn't one movie or TV show that you're going to watch where the rich person is not portrayed as an asshole, prick, or a bitch. And this is done purposely by the people who manipulate our behavior through the media, that they give us negative role modeling to control us. And this is a very ancient art form where you can control your enemy without literally being in the room. All you have to do is control what they see on a repetitive basis. So I know we went in a lot of directions there in that last 3 minutes, but
No.
that's might as well tell the people the truth.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting because I don't think people realize just how, like you mentioned, it's not just the thoughts we think, but it's maybe the words people say or the images we see. And I don't think a lot of people are really putting a filter on those things that they consume every day in terms of content. And so, like, if you're constantly looking at content that's always reinforcing a subconscious belief that you already have, I mean, that's just going to bring that reality into existence much quicker, right?
Guaranteed, you're going to be, the subconscious mind likes to establish patterns as well as particulars. It likes to establish success levels that it doesn't want to exceed. So when you're living back in your old home, you will download sort of, you will count and rank the success level of the tribe. Now, this part of the brain doesn't want you to endanger your safety, security, or survival, so it always wants you to mimic and emulate and mirror what the tribe is doing. So your family puts this invisible glass ceiling on you, whereby it's almost like 25,000 years ago. If you went outside the castle wall, it's an unfamiliar place. And if it's unfamiliar, it's dangerous. And again, this part of the brain's in charge of your safety, your security, and survival. It wants the familiar. So if your dad worked 9 to 5, smoked cigarettes, and drank beer after work, oddly enough, that will be what's mimicked because it's the familiar. Being rich and not going to work and being abundant and relaxed and at peace and not addicted, that's the equivalent to going outside the castle wall. It's completely unfamiliar. Mm-hmm. So this part of the brain has some flaws where it can make you act out, mimic, and copy patterns of behavior that have no benefit for you whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you won't even know why you scurry back or lust after alcohol or cigarettes or chaos or crisis or even working 9 to 5 as opposed to running your own independent business. You will always mimic the cumulative effect of the downloaded patterns or the frequency of ideas and beliefs, a combination of your family and the greater cultural tribe, which is mostly the TV and movies. And I've done many podcasts myself and interviews about what kind of repetitive symbolism is in movies to keep you running east looking for a sunset or rearranging the furniture on the deck of the Titanic. Mm-hmm. And the people who operate the TV and movies know this technology 10 times better than I do. And I use the same technology to make my people successful. I use the same brainwashing. I brainwash my people using the same techniques to be better people, richer, more successful, and healthy.
Well, it's interesting what you're talking about because I think you mentioned in another radio show I listened to you do that the majority, and people have said this before, that the majority of your subconscious mind is sort of pre-programmed into you by the age of 5 or 7. And so what's interesting to me is like this idea of prevention, like on a physical level with disease, things that you can do to prevent yourself from getting a disease. And then I always tell people that, if you wait till you have a diagnosis, you have a much higher mountain to climb than you would have if you just prevented that, right? But the problem with the self-sabotage and the mind control and stuff is that we've already sort of been pre-programmed. So it would be ideal if all of us could have had a better slate to start with, right? But we're all starting almost as if we already have some kind of diagnosis. So we got a higher mountain to climb, but work can be done to overcome all that, right?
Your subconscious mind is completely okay with any repetitive content. And it's actually pretty good at scanning for new content every 24-hour period. So if you would like to change sort of the direction it's dragging you in, or the script it pushes out for you to act, you can reprogram for repetitive content at any time. And that's what I do with my people. And as for people that are sick, don't forget, if your parents are sick, they're pill poppers, they're in and out of the medical system, they believe in doctors. Now, that's what self-sabotage is, of course. It's illogical beliefs where you have no evidence. You have no evidence in real time to back those beliefs. Like, the conventional medical system, if you read a book by Dr. Carol Ann Dean, and it was co-authored by Gary Null, PhD, it's called Death by Medicine, proving that the U.S. medical system kills 1 million Americans prematurely every year. So it means basically murder before their time, dying before your time. It means if they didn't get into the medical system, they would have lived longer lives. Now, if you go to the beach, when you see me and my wife, no one stops me and say, hey, man, what doctor do you have? Like, you must be on 10, 20 meds. Like, we know, we know that the most healthy people take no meds, and we know the most sick people take the most. So that's what self-sabotage is, going to the doctor and asking for drugs. Like, if you take the whole bottle of medication, you die, but if you take 2 a day, you're going to be healthy. Like, there's no evidence in real time. So what's going on? What's going on is what I'm talking about, the repetitive content of Doogie Howser, MD, ER, Grey's Anatomy, drives this repetitive content into your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind downloads the pattern and the frequency count that doctors are smart with health, even though there's no evidence on the street to back that. Medical doctors don't learn anything about health in medical school. And then the person fulfills and acts out the script and goes and will be sick, because being sick is also the pattern, especially if your parents did the same thing. So self-sabotage is you having behavior, and it's illogical, it's irrational, but you still continue to act it out in the face of negative results because you're unaware of how your behavior is manufactured by this counting and ranking safety, security, and survival system. I hope that makes some sense.
No, it's also fascinating. What kind of, when you work with people in your programs, and I don't know if you do private consults with people, but in all your experience over the years working with people, what kind of people are you seeing? People with health problems, people with success issues, or emotional turmoil with relationships, or what?
Everything, the full gamut, the full human mess. So, but the thing is there anything wrong with them? Absolutely not. They're actually working as designed, which is, it's not really to stroke them in a positive way, but they're working as designed. Like, if you watch Dirty Grandpa, Bad Moms, Shameless, Friends, if you watch Gone in 60 Seconds, if you watch any media, your subconscious mind is getting triggered through repetitive content to be an absolute human mess. So whether it's success, and this part of the brain is more obsessed with glass ceilings. So, like, if you're drunk and smoke cigarettes, you'll go to the same glass ceiling as, watching porn and doing coke. The subconscious does not care how you maintain that mediocre level of existence as long as you maintain it. Because anything outside that mediocre level is unfamiliar. It's like getting outside the castle wall. It's unfamiliar, and this part of the brain won't let you go there.
So it's interesting. So you're saying, like, any media. Does that mean, we're creating media right now, so it can't be really any media, but I guess you're thinking more like mainstream movies and TV shows and stuff, right?
Yeah, anything controlled by the mainstream. So the Hollywood movie production and the TV shows, mainstream radio, print media.
It's interesting because, if people want to make a change in their life, which, if you're listening to the show, most likely you do, and that involves, relationships or success, health, finances, whatever. It seems like this would be the first place to start, with your subconscious mind, because this is what's going to be the program that allows you to keep going and push through certain barriers that you have, right? And because if you don't have the results right away, a lot of people are just going to say, oh, it doesn't work. But it's really important to work at this deeper level, I think, before you start doing these physical things that require discipline, right?
That's an absolute guarantee. Don't even try. Don't even try. Because when you said they're going to say it's not going to work, their subconscious mind will invite over their friend who always eats pizza, and get the negative commentary rolling. This part of the brain can control the metabolism, can control the inner thought. It knows how to shut down your ascension. If you're rising up, it'll pop your balloon quicker than you can say boo, and you'll just think it's all fate. And you'll think, oh, I'll just strong arm my behavior harder next time. Good luck. This part of the brain controls 93 to 97% of your behavior and 93 to 97% of all your metabolic functions. And if it wants you to be mediocre, because being mediocre gets you a better fit, has you emulate and gain traction in the bigger tribe, you're going to be mediocre, hands down, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. So you have to trick this part of the brain to, with repetitive content in the direction of your dreams, to literally have it get comfortable and believe that the best way to survive is to fit in with the healthy tribe, fit in with the wealthy tribe, fit in with the abundant tribe, which means all mainstream media. You cannot water down the positive content. You can't do, like I always advise a real good hypnotherapist out of, there's many modalities to trick this part of the brain that you've changed villages. Mm-hmm. But I always suggest one facet is hypnosis. And you can go to a very powerful hypnotherapist in the UK, Marissa Peer. But like I say, you can't do a 25-minute hypnotherapy session with Marissa Peer about becoming wealthy and then go watch HBO Shameless, because the subconscious mind won't know what tribe to mimic.
That's interesting.
It'll just freeze.
So what's interesting to me is I was raised not by choice. It wasn't like my parents did this, but I was born in 75, and it was just back then. My parents worked, and I watched a lot of TV and things. But when I got older into high school and things, there were people doing drugs and people doing stuff like that. And so my thought was always like, kind of like the rebellion aspect of it, where I wasn't going to rebel and do drugs because that's what everyone else was doing. And so my thought process was like, I'm going to go somewhere different in my life, and that requires me to be something different. So I'm wondering, like, this idea that like for me, I'm going to go the opposite of what everyone else is doing. If they're all doing drugs, then they can all go ruin their life, and I'm going to be the one laughing later on when their life's a train wreck and I'm doing great. So it's like, where does a thought like that come from, or how was it cultivated? Because I don't think I even knew about this stuff back then.
Well, it's very common in my field, and I'm not saying you fall in this category at all, Justin, but it's very common for people to always frame themselves as different. A lot of people will say, oh, my mom and dad used to smoke and eat junk food, and now I over-exercise and drink coffee. It's very common for someone to just pick a different whack-a-mole mallet and smash themselves over the head with it. Say it could be coffee. So it's very common for someone to say they're not doing drugs and they drink two cups of coffee a day and smoke 2 joints every second day or something like that. You get to the same level. It's the same level. Coffee is the biggest inhibitor of human potential. And if you want to kind of investigate that claim, you can read the book Caffeine Blues by Stephen Chernisky. Now, the reason people are drinking coffee, because if you analyze imprints, frequent and repetitive imprints, and count them in Hollywood cinema, the most frequent imprint is a takeout coffee cup, coffee mug, a coffee machine, or a coffee shop. In the movie Fight Club with was Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, there was a Starbucks coffee cup in every single scene of Fight Club.
Really?
Yeah, and I always tell people, don't worry though, your subconscious saw it, you didn't, but your subconscious saw, and that's very important for coffee. And if you want to even link further, Bill Gates, of course, was the first seed funder of Starbucks. And even before I got on today, I was waiting for your link. And I do my banking with the Toronto Dominion Bank here in Canada, and they're having a co-promotion with Starbucks. getting the people caffeinated. The thing about caffeine, it cuts blood with 1 8-ounce cup of coffee, cuts blood flow to the brain by 52% for up to 24 hours. And this is the like, there's no benefit. Again, if there's no benefit, net benefit to you for doing a behavior,
Mm-hmm.
you got to ask yourself why you're doing it. And if you can't figure it out, it's because of repetitive content that your subconscious has downloaded into the very, this ranking and counting part of the, behavior manufacturing system. And you're really not living your life. You are acting out a script. So I know that's scary for people, because if there's a number one addiction that people can't seem to get away from, it's coffee.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. That's definitely for sure. That's
Yeah, so
interesting.
I understand the pushback if the coffee drinkers are out there running for the door.
It's like insulting meat eaters and telling them the veganism is good, or vice versa, right? It's like,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's everybody, but if you want to look into it, I mean, they even filmed someone drinking coffee, put them in an MRI machine. The doctor was there and eyeballed the loss of oxygen in blood at 40%, when measured accurately is 52%. And it triggers the fight or flight system. Like, caffeine is what's called an alkaloid poison,
uh-huh.
and the coffee plant uses the poison to kill bugs and competing foliage. So when you poison yourself, you always activate your fight or flight. That means your limbic system is on, and the limbic system is low IQ and childlike, and it has no ability to judge long-term consequences. So, of course, if I'm in the ruling position, if I decided when I was born, me and my family are going to be the rulers and you're going to be my understudies,
Yeah.
it's best you be in the limbic system, low
Yeah.
IQ.
That's so interesting. Yeah. So this idea of repetitive programming to me is really interesting. So like, that's why it's really important for people to make sure that they screen what they watch, what they listen to, the people they're around. I remember for me, years ago, my jiu-jitsu coach or teacher told me about this program by Jim Rohn, and it's called The Challenge to Succeed. And it really changed my life. And it was cool getting it from someone who I respected, and, it was completely not about jiu-jitsu at all. And so I listened to that over and over. I must have listened to that maybe at least a couple hundred times. And I would always have it playing at different times. And I think it's really important, isn't it, to fill your mind with good podcasts, with good audiobooks and things, right?
That's the only way to reprogram and sort of take active control of your own subconscious. You can't strong arm this part of the brain. It's absolutely impossible. It will act out your programming, but it is simple in its communication, in its interfacing language. How to program it is very simple. You have to use repetitive content. So if you wanted to be rich, it has to be repetitive content about wealth. If you want better relationships, it's going to be repetitive, positive content about relationships. And again, you can't water it down. And your health is also crucial to reprogramming, because the part of your brain behind your forehead is called your prefrontal cortex. And that's where your free will is located, and all the best of you, whatever attributes you want to list that denotes the best that you have to offer, they're all in the prefrontal cortex. Mm-hmm. You eat poorly, you eat poison, you ingest poison, you inject poison, it will always inhibit your prefrontal cortex, activate your limbic system, and you can't reprogram properly unless your prefrontal cortex is fully open. So you have to be at peace, you have to eat properly, and it all has to come together in one kind of shot, one attempt, and one journey. And it can be done as little as 2 or 3 days. You can go right into reprogramming your subconscious mind for better behavior. But again, most people think that the TV and the movies and the radio is there to entertain them. Mm-hmm. And if they believe that, they're in so much trouble that it's really hard to describe, because the radio, the print media, the TV, the movies, they are there to entrain you. And this sort of technology for brainwashing is like a knife. You can grab the handle end and use it as a tool, or you can grab the blade end and you're going to cut your hand to bits. Now, I use the same brainwashing techniques like the handle of that knife.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to use it as a tool to make your life better. TV, movies, mainstream radio, and mainstream print, they're going to give you the blade end all day long. You're going to have very dysfunctional behavior with alcohol. Alcohol and coffee are the two most frequent imprints in all Hollywood film. Even if you're watching Cobra Kai, which is a new Netflix show, it's constant drinking with Johnny Lawrence. Even the LaRussas are drinking, and you don't notice, but the coffee machines, the coffee cups, and the coffee shops litter the background of Cobra Kai. And that's where your subconscious pays most attention to the background as the conscious mind focuses in on the character.
Wow, that's super interesting. I hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. This is episode 689. So what we'll do is we'll put links to Jason Christoff's website, freedomfromselfsabotage.com, on this show page, extremehealthradio.com/689. Ooh, a lot of interesting ideas. So when we come back from the break, I want to ask Jason about one of the things that I did in an attempt to reprogram my subconscious mind. And that was the playing of certain audio frequencies and stuff. So I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Please pass it on to your friends. That's one of the only ways that we are able to circumvent all the censorship going on these days. And the censorship is real. So make sure to share the show. Tag your friends on Instagram. And do that, because that really helps us and it helps get the word out. So again, I hope you are enjoying the show. What I want to tell you guys about right now is one of my favorite machines that we have. It's a molecular hydrogen Brown's gas device. Really, really fascinating technology behind this. And I'm going to play a little clip from our buddy, Dr. Sam Byrne, who's an ophthalmologist, talking about hydrogen. It's really fascinating.
I've been following molecular hydrogen for a while, and I'm starting to see some research where it's being used to reverse cataracts, and that they may actually put it in an eye drop, which may help things like dry eye syndrome and other oxidative stress caused conditions. So I think it's a great technique, and I think it could really benefit the eyes. I would just like to see what the delivery system could be, but even just taking it systemically probably would have an effect on our eyes positively. So I'm all for it. I think it's a very interesting technology.
Yeah, the one that we promote from Vital Reaction, like I said, is like a water-based kind of substance that you can put in your water. But you've seen some research where they're able to maybe make some drops out of it and put it topically on the eye?
Yeah. And again, this isn't commercially available, but some researchers have looked at cataracts and created a hypothesis, would this technology help? And the results were very positive. So again, I've made MSM eye drops, and that's been incredible. So this would be a whole other level to make molecular hydrogen eye drops. I think would just go right to the source of a lot of these oxidative stress-based eye problems.
Yeah, guys. So what's really fascinating about molecular hydrogen is it's the smallest antioxidant there is in the known universe. It's 400 times smaller than vitamin C. 700 times smaller than CoQ10. So that means it can get into the body as an antioxidant in places where other things cannot go. And so the size of it itself is amazing. And so what you do with this AquaCure machine that we promote, and I've been using for, at least a year now, is you breathe the gas, and you put like a little cannula in your nose, and you breathe the gas. And then you can also infuse the water that you drink with hydrogen-rich molecules in it too. And we had Tyler LeBaron from the Molecular Hydrogen Institute, and he was talking about the over 1,000 studies they have on molecular hydrogen and its effect on repairing DNA, repairing mitochondrial DNA, and it reduces oxidation, and that's rust. So oxidation, and through the iron fortification program that we had in 1941, and it doubled again in 1969, adding iron filings into our food supply, acid rain liberating iron, excess amounts of iron from our soils. We're getting so much iron in our bodies, and we have this oxidation. And some have said that oxidation is the real cause of all disease. And so this goes in and repairs the oxidation being caused by excess iron intake and other inflammatory processes that we engage in. And there's so many studies about all the different aspects of your health that molecular hydrogen can affect. And I can't say it cures anything, because that would be, we can't say that. But this is a really great device. Go onto our store, biochargeme.com. And what you can do is bring this into your home, and you can breathe this while you sleep. You can breathe it while you're working. You can drink the hydrogen-rich water. And I'm telling you, it will change your life. It is an amazing, amazing technology. And we did a couple shows, I think 2 with George and 1 with Tyler, all about it. And you can see those shows on our store, Biocharge Me. And I'll link that up on extremehealthradio.com/689. And consider getting one of these things and turning your home into a healing sanctuary. I really, really recommend that. And here's a little clip too of a really great product that I think is going to be on sale for a couple more days until the end of February. And this is an awesome product called Colostrum. Check this out.
And so one of the really wonderful things is that colostrum kind of goes throughout the body, unlocking growth keys, getting our body to produce new, fresh, healthy tissue everywhere. And that makes it really wonderful for people who are exercising, people who are looking for recovery, from people who are healing from past injuries or past surgeries, or from a lifestyle that was detrimental to their health. This becomes an all-around really wonderful food for anybody who's looking for anti-aging type benefits and rejuvenation. And essentially, I think it's a really optimal food for just about everybody, because it restores tissues on every level.
I love that. So as far as the casein or lactose, I know a lot of people have questions about that. Is there any casein or lactose in colostrum?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we tend to think of colostrum like it's a dairy product, but it's helpful to think of it really more as a product that's produced in the blood. And it fills into the mammary gland, and it's consumed the same way that milk will later be consumed, but it's not milk, and it's not really a dairy product. There are trace amounts of lactose and casein that can be found there, but that are below the levels that trigger inflammatory issues or allergic reactions for most individuals. So people who are sensitive to casein and lactose are not, in most cases, ever sensitive to colostrum.
Yeah, this stuff, I'm telling you guys, if you get some of this stuff, you can put it in your smoothies. You can put it in any sort of teas that you're drinking. You can put it in, you can make pancakes with it. I mean, it's so versatile in the kitchen. You can use it for a ton of different reasons. And what I love about it too is not just the fact that it helps to modulate your immune system. So if you're worried about big C, little v, or any other virus going on right now, this helps to modulate your immune system. I can't say it cures anything, but it's really great to have on hand. I'm telling you, we've been on it for a couple of years now, like on an ongoing basis. And right now, through the end of February 2021, 2 more days, there's a 20% off deal. So make sure to go over. If you click through our link, you'll be taken over to surthrival.com. And that's how we support the show, is we have these awesome products that we take ourselves, and we tell you guys about them. And when you purchase them, it helps keep everything going here. But you're going to love this stuff. You're going to be addicted to it, and it's a good addiction. So this is a great, great product. Make sure to go, if you're watching on YouTube right now, put a link down below at extremehealthradio.com/689, and you can get access to it there. But so consider getting one of these hydrogen machines, as well as the colostrum. I think you're really going to love it. And we'll be right back with Jason Christoff right after this. Oops, actually, it's not playing for me. Oh, well. Well, let's just dig right back into it. So one of the things I was going to share is something that I did a while ago, Jason, that I feel like it helped me a lot, and I should probably get back to it, is what I would do is I wrote down in different categories, a bunch of different, like 4 or 5 different categories: wealth, success, personal relationships, health, and these different types of things. And under each category, I came up with a bunch of affirmations that I would say to myself. And then I had all the affirmations written out, all the categorized words there. And then I recorded that onto my computer. And then what I did was I got some really cool kind of yoga music, or just music without any words on it. and I put that recording of me saying these affirmations with lots of passion and things at a really low level, so you couldn't really hear it. And then I would go to bed and listen to that. And that to me really seemed to help a lot. And I'm curious, is that another aspect maybe of giving yourself some good programming, you think?
Oh yeah, that's key, and that's what a lot of people might discount that, but it's a perfect way to reprogram and convince the subconscious mind that it lives in a more abundant tribe. And then if you can trick that part of the brain to make it believe you already live in an abundant tribe, its job is to make you fit in with the abundant tribe. And it's well aware that for you to be abundant, you need your prefrontal cortex. So it can shunt blood flow toward your prefrontal cortex if it thinks such an activity is going to be safe. So this sort of repetitive programming through the affirmations, I would suggest you print the affirmations, frame them, put them around your office, phone the vinyl guys in your community that do vinyl for cars, get them to do a little couple sheets of vinyl with the same phrases, put them inside your shower stall. There's like empty billboards. Put them on your mirror, put them on your fridge, because repetition is key. Repetition is key, and the subconscious will always find, even if you don't look at it, the subconscious will find that phrase on your wall and download it and count it and rank it. If you can get the positive phrases ranking and counting higher than any other phrase, you will have a better life.
Do you think there's any, like, for those of us that are, sort of raised on TV and stuff and watching movies and all that, all growing up, do you think there's any permanent damage that was done by that? Or is this all stuff that you can rewrite?
You can rewrite it at any time. The subconscious is more of a scanner on a 24-hour basis. You just got to get rid of that TV and the movies. The permanent damage would be the activities that you will act out beyond your conscious control, the drinking, the junk food eating, working a job when you're capable of starting a business. Everything that's on the TV is there to throw you down the evolutionary ladder and poison you or indoctrinate you back into the Stone Age. Even with the movie, and the movie, say, Dirty Grandpa, you can go watch the trailer. It was with Zac Efron and Robert De Niro. I've analyzed, it's a 2-minute trailer on YouTube. I've analyzed the first 60 seconds, and there's 76 imprints of alcohol in the 60-second trailer alone.
Really?
And repetitive content rules your mind. Now, alcohol has been proven to cause cancer. It's proven to decrease lifespan in any quantity. It's proven to cause brain damage in any quantity. And there was a public official that came out in the UK 2 years ago on London Real. He was interviewed by Brian Rose. He was charged with the duty of discovering ways to improve the society and investigating the most dangerous compounds in the UK. And all his data, he came back and said, hands down, we got to at least warn the public, the UK public, how dangerous alcohol is. It kills more people, causes more destruction and depression and pain in our society and financial loss than anything I tested. You know what happened to him? He got fired.
I'm not surprised.
Right. Yeah, because the people who rule us, they have one way of maintaining their power. They maintain their power by destroying ours. And that's the only way they maintain this power differential. If we're messy, sloppy, financially destitute, out of shape, we're too lazy to go change the channel, we're not going to go protest them. We're not going to get out of our house. We're not going to fight the police when they're doing something illegal, immoral, and unethical. We're not going to do any of that. And this is how this system really works. It works through the TV and the movie screen.
Mm-hmm. And you can see it. I was listening to someone just recently, and they were talking about, I think, just the like in America, I think 80% of people, is what he was saying, watch the mainstream news. And so, I mean, to me, I just thought, wow, still people are watching that? But I mean, it's such a high percentage of people. That's shocking to me.
I would doubt that. What you have to understand is if you've seen it on the mainstream, if it's reported on the mainstream, they know that the numbers really get the attention of the subconscious. The subconscious loves numbers like a dog likes chasing a squirrel up a tree.
Yeah.
And it's because the higher the number, the greater the group, the bigger the group the number denotes, right? 80% seems like a group. It was probably 40. They'll double it to 80, knowing it has a bigger impact on the people that are watching it. They feel more safe, secure. It's directed at this part of the mind specifically. And that's why they call it propaganda. The first word in propaganda is the word prop. That 80% number is a prop, specifically weaponized against the subconscious mind, which looks for bigger groups all the time. Anything other statistics, this many people are going to take the new medicine, this many people watch news, you can bet it's less than half of what they're reporting.
Oh, and then they're just, doubling it, like you said.
They just double it. They'll be like, only, well, they're already saying 50% won't take the new medicine. I bet it's 75%.
I bet you're right. So with this kind of work that you do, we all have people in our lives that are just, don't see what we're talking about today. And if someone's listening or watching to this, they're probably on board and they're probably thinking to themselves, okay, I got to make sure that I protect my subconscious from the media that I intake. But the people they're exposed to, like our family and friends and your family and friends, many of them see no need in what we're talking about today, or don't even understand that this programming is happening. Would you recommend, like for me, I've sort of stopped trying to wake people up, because at this point, if you're still asleep and you don't understand this stuff, there's nothing I can do to help wake you up. And I feel like it puts me in a position of weakness to feel like their ability to wake up somehow rides on me. And so I'm done doing that. What do you think about people that really want to help their friends and family? Should they help them in any way or just let them go?
No, I don't think they should let them go. I don't think they have to go. And when you want to convince someone, you have like a social media page, ask a pointed question. Statements, like Robert Kiyosaki said, statements close the mind, questions open the mind. Mm-hmm. Don't be argumentative. Don't give your opinion. Just state a fact that's in contradiction to the standard narrative, poise it in a question, and this will awaken as many people as possible. Everybody is charged with a little bit of the responsibility of trying to wake up their area of the world, their flock or their herd. But many people, before I got on today, there was a medical doctor, someone told me, not a friend of mine, but I trained him in my old days, and I guess he just dropped dead. He is a medical doctor. I assume he's taken a shot of the new medicine. And people like that, that's called paycheck mind control. That's very powerful, where paycheck mind control means your survival is tied to the lie. And that can be a very powerful form of mind control. So I don't know how he dropped dead, maybe took the new medicine, but it is, when people believe a lie, like there's a lady called Carolyn Myss, or Mace, or MYSS. She's very famous. Yeah. And I love her quote, "Liars never heal."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If there's something that you want to take away from this show, liars never heal. And your body is a walking lie detector. You can put ideas through it. You can put beliefs through it. You can put food through it. You can inject things into it. I wouldn't suggest injecting into the lie detector, but your body will tell you if you're living lie or living truth. If you get negative results, you're living a lie. If you're getting positive results, you're living the truth. That's what your body's there for. Your body's there to process your ideas, give you physical, mental, and spiritual feedback. It's up to you if you want to ignore that and live out the paycheck mind control. And this is what people are up against today. It's their natural being, their natural way of being, trying to be hijacked by, it's basically, for lack of a better term, there's a science, media, government, and medical cult trying to take the place of God. That's what's going on right now.
Yeah. No, I like the point that you brought up about people's paychecks being tied to this lie, because like you said, that's the biggest issue, right? Because It's really weird because it goes against, or it goes along with the narrative that we've been taught our whole life. So let's say you have a doctor out there that's listening to this, and they finally wake up and they realize all this stuff is not working and they're not getting results. And so now they're thinking to themselves, okay, I've got to practice, I got to pay off my student loan for my doctorate degree, I've got houses and cars, I've got a family to support, I got debt, to take care of, and I have all these things I have to make money for. Then you're getting into fear, because then you're thinking, like, a guy like that can't just walk away from that, right? But then that fear comes from his probably thinking, subconscious programming his whole life, that he can't go off and do something on their own. And and so do I, there's countless amounts of doctors who have walked away from their practices and gone into more natural-based medicine therapies and become even more successful. But it's that fear that would hold someone like that back and keep them in the matrix, right?
Yeah, that's part of the programming. The 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 mentality is a program on its own. I mean, if you are raised in a wealthy family, not working is normal. Just having $1 million ideas always pumping out is normalized. And that doctor, although he makes or she makes an extra bit of salary, they're dependent. And so this sort of system we're talking about, it's like a watch. There's 150 pieces in the average watch, and all these pieces work together in a watch to, come to one final conclusion, which is the time. Mm-hmm. The government school system is there to literally make kids dependent on someone else for their income. And then when you make kids dependent, I mean, in all this, what we're seeing today with the standard narrative about the disease and the new medicine, it's just a continuation of the same schoolyard programming from the government school system. It's all about dependence. It's all about centralized control. And that this is being programmed into us, that we need someone in school, we need someone telling us what to do with our day. That someone tells us what to do with our day from 9 to 5, and then we stop at 5, and then we go self-entertain and self-gratify. Mm-hmm. You do 12 years of that in the government indoctrination camp, of course you're going to have the same patterns as an adult. You're going to beg someone to tell me what to do 9 to 5, and then when I'm off from 5 to 9, it's my time. I'm going to drink wine and watch Netflix. Yeah. These are all patterns. They're all programs. Mm-hmm. We can write our own program. We don't have to participate in any of it, and we don't have to. I mean, we shouldn't be trying to centralize more power with these particular entities that are shoveling the liarrhea and packing it as high as it can go right now.
Yeah, it's funny because the way my mind works, it helps to think of this kind of information in like an offense-defense kind of a way, like a basketball game or football game or something. And so on the defensive side, you have this protection, right, from the mainstream media and all the sources we talked about earlier, like protecting yourself from all that garbage. And that includes friends or family that are negative and things like that. And then on the offensive side, you have all of the subconscious programming, the work that you do and you help people with. Have you noticed with working with clients over the years, are both sides equally as necessary? I would imagine they would be, right?
You mean, oh yeah, you definitely have to get away from the negative people and their behavior, which is not their own. I mean, most people today are acting out behavior that's right from the TV. Mm-hmm. So you do have to understand there's not a big differential. There's not a big gap between the average person and a TV show. So you got to cut the TV shows off, and then the people that are mimicking and emulating, mirroring the behavior from the TV, which is always self-destructive. So if you have friends that are self-destructive, which again is self-sabotage, like if you work a job you don't like to come across an extra $300 at the end of a week, and then you plow that $300 into like drugs, alcohol, and takeout food, there's no benefit to that whatsoever. There's no logic in any of those patterns, but we act them out because we're getting pushed that script by our subconscious. So yeah, you have to, most people today are just TVs themselves. So if you're going to get rid of the TV and the movies because of all the negative role modeling and the repetitive negative content on the trash fire media, you also have to see that most people today they're walking lockstep with that programming when the TV's not there. They're just TVs with feet.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to get rid of those people too.
Mm-hmm. And then what kind of things do you work with people on the sort of offensive side, on really kind of habits and mind techniques and things like that? What kind of stuff do you do with people?
Well, I do a lot of positive phrases framed around the house, some vinyl, change the email addresses, email passwords to something more positive. Hypnosis is a big part of what I do. I mean, if your password is like KD Kid 1980, it stands for craft dinner or something, you should be getting rid of that and saying, you know, I love you, Justin. Justin's number one. Justin is awesome. Abundance is my birthright. I am pure potential. Change your passwords if you're going to use them every day. Change them to something positive. And of course, your health is a big part of it. But if we all know to get healthy, you got to do this all at the same time. You got to reprogram. You got to do the hypnosis. And I use a very particular, process where I use the hypnosis on my clients.
That's interesting. And do you do that virtually, or do people need to see you?
No, I do it virtually. I have programs. I don't have too many spots for one-on-one anymore, but I do have recorded programs that walks everybody through it. And I tell people, if you think the information I'm giving you right now is entertaining, wait till I get a hold of a PowerPoint and can show videos and analyze video content in movie and TV shows while you're watching. You'll be baffled what I pick out in the background of most TV and movies.
Wow, that's crazy. You know, I mean, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. I should have asked you this at the very beginning. What got you started in all of this and seeing the world the way you do now?
Just because I was always interested in my own behavior, which was highly destructive. So I almost I was almost dead myself by the age of 29 through self-destructive behavior. I managed to pull myself out of that by doing a little bit of reprogramming, but it was still pretty strong in me. But as I became an exercise and diet coach from the Czech Institute, which is the highest grade of exercise and diet coaching certification you can get, I go to my clients and they'd laugh about, eating some ice cream on the weekend, or they're drinking their wine or their coffee. It was always junk food, wine, and coffee. Junk food, wine, and coffee. They just couldn't stop. And then, they didn't like the results. Their penis didn't work. Their reproductive organs didn't work. Their hair was falling out. They had bad gas and big stomachs and acne, and there was no benefit. And they were spending thousands of dollars a year killing themselves. So I said, something's got to break here. Something's got to give. So that's when I got into the mind. I just went to the psychology resources and just started to say, what's going on with people hurting themselves, this kamikaze mind control. And I started looking up MK Ultra, mind control, brainwashing, Tavistock Institute, Stanford experiments, and all these psychological experiments you can find on Brain Games or Vsauce. There's a lot, or the psychology. There's Academy of Ideas is another great psychology station on YouTube, and it's very easy to pick up. I mean, if you take the time. It doesn't take more than a week of researching to understand most people believe they're in control of behavior. In a psychology university or a psychology library, they laugh at you. Of course, humans aren't in control of their behavior. It's programmed into them. The environment controls their behavior. If you control their environment, you control the human.
That's so interesting. Golly. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I feel like there's so much going on, and there's reasons why these invisible programs that we have going on in the background of our lives, we don't even realize that we're acting out a script that we learned when we're before the age of 5, and we're acting these things out, and then they're reinforced through TV and media. Yeah, that's a really good tip you had about the passwords, and I like your idea too about bringing some of these affirmations into your home, because like you said, it's what did you call it? Something about a billboard. It's like a
Yeah, it's like an empty billboard. When I was in my shower one day, it's just all white. And I'm like, well, the vinyl will stick to this. So I got some vinyl from my car that does vinyl decal, from my friend who does vinyl decals for cars. and I just put them up in my shower. That's it.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
I see them every day.
it's cool because it doesn't necessarily like it's the little bits of information that you put into your brain every single day. It's the repetition is what you're talking about, right? Because like I think that's the power of it, right?
That's the power. Is this part of the brain is a counting ranking system, and you have to drown out the negative content that was put in there, and eventually you'll forget about. That's a great part of this. Is the great function of this part of the brain. Sure, it'll remember the guy that might have molested you in the park when you were 5,
Mm-hmm.
but it's completely okay with you stopping. You stop thinking about it. It will stop reacting to it. And then if you put in better content, it'll only respond to that content. Conventional therapy, if you go back and relive the man molesting you in the park when you're 5, this part of the brain thinks you're back there.
Mm-hmm.
And the repetitive content, the repetitive imprint is depression, despair, and hopelessness. That's what you're doing when you go back to the old hurts, the old wounds.
That's so interesting. So, for those that want to learn more, I'm looking at your website right now, Freedom from Self-Sabotage.
Yeah, they don't want to go there. That's more my coaching page. So I have a school. That's my school's page.
Okay.
I have a school where I teach people how to become self-sabotage coaches so they can do this as a living. So that's more the website for the school. If they want to get in contact with me, they could email me directly about maybe one of my programs, jason@freedomfromselfsabotage.com, or they can go to my Facebook page, Jason Christoff, which is shadow banned pretty hard, and or my Instagram page. But if you just email me, I have a podcast, and I email my readership probably about once a week or once every 10 days, so I won't spam you. But if you'd like some cutting edge information, just send me your email at jason@freedomfromselfsabotage.com. I'll put you on my email list. And because I talk about self-sabotage probably in waves, probably anytime I'm going to ramp up my school, it's only open twice or 3 times a year. I'll start really talking about self-sabotage on my page, on my Facebook page and Instagram page before I open enrollment.
I see. Okay. That's great. Yeah, I would recommend following you on Instagram. You have all kinds of cool stuff, and like they're kind of these quotes that you have. Do you just make these quotes up? Is that do they just kind of come to you?
They come to me more when I'm upset and pissed off, but they're all designed to make people rethink or start thinking again and trigger what's called a program malfunction. So all my memes that I make, and I quote myself, people think I'm crazy. Why are you quoting yourself? But they're all based on brainwashing techniques to initiate an opposite wavelength to the programming, and it can cause what's called a programming malfunction.
Yeah,
and it can wake people up.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Well, Jason, thanks so much for your work and for helping people and people wake up. And I love that. And I appreciate your time. I know we had to reschedule a couple times, so I appreciate your time. As finally, what are you going to do the rest of today? Anything fun? Anything enjoyable?
Today I have my brother-in-law has a birthday party. I do have funny enough, I have a one-on-one client about an hour after this out of Australia. So I'm going to finish that up. And then I'm doing a cancer seminar on Sunday, Reversing and Preventing Cancer, a free Zoom event. I don't know if anybody's going to hear this in time, but if you wanted to try to attend, I think it's full because there's a Zoom. The Zoom is, I think it's 1,000 people limit on Zoom, and we're very close. And I'll tell you equal secrets about cancer that'll drop your jaw, what they're not telling you. And if you'd like to even if you wanted to, if you hear this late, and you might be listening a year down the road, just email me at jason@freedomfromselfsabotage.com. Make the title Reverse and Prevent Cancer, and I'll just send you the recording.
Oh, cool.
How's that?
That's awesome. Because this will go on YouTube today, but then the audio version, which most people listen to, will be on Sunday night. So that'll be after, I think. Because you're doing it this Sunday, right?
Yeah, I'm doing it this Sunday. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that because I think the average cancer patient is worth to the medical establishment close to $1 million in terms of chemotherapy costs. So you imagine, 1 out of every 2 people being diagnosed at some point in their life. You're looking at an industry that's unbelievably massive, right?
yeah, and people don't know the big secret is that actually cancer cells are there to help you. And people have told that they grow because of a genetic flaw, and there's no evidence to that whatsoever. The immune system actually triggers their growth, feeds them, and gives them very key enzymes to infiltrate right down to the bottom layer of our organs. And it does all this purposely. And today, on Sunday, we're going to discuss the benefit of cancer and why the immune system does not target cancer cells for destruction, but actually aids their growth.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like what you said before we started recording. You were saying that there's massive censorship going on with big C, little v in this. I should call it, like you said, the medicine, even though it's not a medicine, but the medicine they're trying to, inject everyone
The new
with.
medicine. You can call it the new medicine. I haven't been censored for that. I'm sure they'll see that one day. And they don't. It's a very ancient group. If people want to look in, it's not the people that are on the screen. They represent a very, very old lineage on this planet. So they should definitely look in behind the actors. Behind the actors that are on the TV, and know that they do this quite often. And everybody has a choice to make. They can get on their knees or they can stand up. I would suggest standing up.
Awesome. Well, I got involved in this whole crazy natural health world as a result of cancer, and it affects all of our lives. So I'll direct as many people as possible to your Zoom event. Jason, thanks so much, my friend, for being on. I really appreciate this today.
You're welcome, Justin. Good luck with everything, and thank you for having me on.
Awesome. All right, we'll talk soon. I'll send you the link to this later this weekend.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Bye.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. So there you go. Jason Christoff, episode 689. And I've got a lot to share with you about this episode. So what I'm going to do is hang out for a couple more minutes and break down some of the things he said and share with you some insights from my own life about some of the things that he said. So, but before we do that, I want to tell you about, this is a product that I don't really get a chance to talk about too much, and it's something that we use every single day, and that is our Magnetico mattress pad. So we just had some people in our academy asking me about grounding and in order to protect yourself from EMF or non-native EMF. And that is dirty electricity coming from the walls, Wi-Fi routers being exposed in your home, your neighbors' EMF, smart meters, all these things that are affecting our biology. And they were asking about whether or not they should ground. And my solution now, after learning about grounding from a lot of different people, is now getting a Magnetico sleep pad. So this is one of the things I do, sleep every night on this pad, in order to prevent being affected by these wireless radiation frequencies. And so here's a little thing from Jason Prahl, who's a really great guy. He's from the Human Longevity Project, but check him out.
I just heard those devices that you had during the break, by the way, and I actually want to add to that because that's really cool stuff. I actually have the Magnetico sleep pad myself. I've got the 20 Gauss. It actually is really important. And what's happening is with the Earth, according to research and some pretty good science, that the poles are actually wandering. Instead of being sort of perfectly aligned and opposite of each other, there's multiple poles on the north and south, and they're actually wandering around. And basically what that does is it decreases magnetism around the Earth, but it does so in an uneven way, in an undistributed way. So it's not exactly uniform around the planet. What's happening is we are getting extra solar energies coming to the Earth. So we're actually seeing like UVC is now increasing on the planet. Because of our magnetic field, our magnetic shield is not as protective. So it's really interesting stuff what's happening as we're moving into new parts of the galaxy, and we're getting new energies and all this stuff is changing. So I actually have a Magnetico sleep pad.
So if you guys are listeners to the radio show, I mean, this kind of stuff is that we are magnetic beings and we run off of magnetism, and this is how our biology works. This is how we are made. The problem is that not just are we exposed to so much EMF and non-native EMF in the world today, but the magnetic field of the Earth has actually been weakened by over 80% in the last 4,000 years. And it's this magnetism that we need in our physiology and helping the spin state of our electrons. And this is super, super important to be exposed to this magnetic field. So this is something that I do, sleep on these Magnetico mattress pads. There's a discount of 10% if you go on to biochargeme.com. You can find the Magnetico sleep pad, and there's 2,000 magnets in each of these pads, and you can get them in 10 Gauss or 20 Gauss strengths. We only have the 10 Gauss because they're quite expensive, but there is a discount if you go through our link and use our code, which I would recommend you do. And this is one of the things I recommend everyone do. Instead of focusing on diet and trying to overcome discipline or being disciplined and overcome addictions, change your environment. Change the environment you live in to support your health. And the Magnetico sleep pad is something that you could do that's passive. I mean, you sleep anyway, right? You go to sleep for 8 hours. You might as well make it something where you can actually detoxify. And you have this system in your body. Most people know about the lymphatic system, but you also have the glymphatic system, and that's the glial cells, the brain actually detoxing. And this happens while we sleep. And this has been shown with the Magnetico to help increase your body's ability to detoxify heavy metals. This is really powerful research behind this pad. So I'd highly recommend looking into this and getting one for you, your family, your kids, and that. So here's another product that I'm really big fan of. It's our Relax Far Infrared Sauna. And we just did an hour and a half, actually a 3-hour workshop with Dr. Stuart Nunley, our biological dentist, inside the Extreme Health Academy. We do a workshop every single month. And what's great about these workshops is that you get access to these doctors, you yourself, on Zoom, and you can ask them questions, and you can glean from their years and years of experience. And we just did a whole 3-hour workshop with Dr. Nunley all about dental health. But he was crippled. He had ALS. I don't know if he's diagnosed with ALS or had the ALS symptoms. And he was in a wheelchair. And because he was removing people's mercury fillings improperly before he knew better. And he thought he had ALS. And he was in a wheelchair, and listen to how he turn that whole process around.
What I chose to do? I chose to go very, very slow as I detox. So one of the things that I did is I invested in an infrared sauna, which was huge. That was a big, big part of my healing because, interestingly enough, many times patients who have heavy metal toxicity lose the ability to sweat. And so I was one of those. I could not break a sweat. And the infrared sauna helped me to retrain my body to be able to sweat. It was a huge part of my overall detox.
Doesn't Dr. Huggins say, as long as there's more going out than what's coming in, you're okay?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right on that.
So you guys know that there are so many toxins in our world today. I think I read something recently where there's like 60,000 new chemicals introduced into our environment. I think there's over 80,000 chemicals in commerce. That's not counting the plastics. That's not counting any of that stuff that's just rampant in the fire retardants, the heavy metals we're exposed to, which, by the way, you can't detoxify heavy metals without magnesium. But one of the things to sort of offset all of this exposures to the environment we live in is regular sauna therapy. And if you look into what sauna is able to do to your immune system, upregulate it by 40%. And they've actually done studies where they've shown, they've tested the sweat before and after people have used saunas, and there's more heavy metals coming out of people. And what's great is that it works in a way where you use the largest organ of your body, which is your skin, in order to detoxify. So you're not having to go through the kidney or the liver. You sweat these toxins right out through your skin that are stored in your fat cells. And so I can't recommend these enough. So this is my favorite sauna. It's the Relax Far Infrared Sauna. The reason why I like it is because for a lot of different reasons. One is it's the most affordable. So, you can buy the wood ones, and we sell those. We sell the ozone ones. We sell the near infrared ones. I think the near infrared is like $3,000. The ozone, I think, is $7,000. The wooden ones can be $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000. In my opinion, I mean, if you want to get those ones, they're great, and I think there's benefit to all of them in different ways. There's not one sauna that's the best, but this is the one that we use and that we really recommend because it's affordable. You can break it down, which means you can, if you don't have a lot of room, you can just fold it all up and put it underneath your bed, and in probably about 3 or 4 minutes. And what's great is that it doesn't use a lot of electricity, which is amazing. All the other ones seem to use a lot of electricity, and your head sticks out. So from an Ayurvedic perspective, this is really important because you don't want to heat up your head while you're trying to detoxify. And But that's also even better too, because what I like to do in the sauna is to watch documentaries. So I'll watch all kinds of stuff, like I'll listen to podcasts, or you can even read a book, because your head sticks out. You could blow a fan on your head if you get really hot, but it's just really a great, great thing. And I do mine 4 days a week. So I work out for 3. And on the days that I don't work out, I do my sauna therapy session. So in fact, in our academy, I put together a whole yearly protocol of what to do on a monthly basis. Everything from blood donations to cleanses and things. So every single month we know what we're doing. We do it as a group. So that's one of the benefits of being inside the academy, is that you can go through and do these things as a group together. We recently just did a colon cleanse, and once a year we do a heavy metal cleanse. Once a year we do a parasite cleanse, while supporting our body and our liver the rest of the year, so that we have the energy to facilitate that kind of cleanse. And so we go through these things as a group, and this is one of the benefits of being a member there, is that you get access to this community. We're actually doing live sessions a lot. So I'm in there every Friday morning live for an hour. Dr. Bergman's going to be doing a live session the 3rd Sunday of every month at 10 a.m. Pacific. And then my wife, Kate, is doing a live session for women's wellness the first Wednesday of every month, I believe at 10 a.m. Pacific. So lots of live events happening, lots of support. We have an active community forum, lots of cool stuff. So I'd encourage you guys to join that. But consider getting one of these saunas if you would, and turning your home into a healing practice, a healing space, where you don't have to drive to the gym and go to a yoga place or go to a massage place and use their sauna. You can just use it right in your home and be taken care of and mitigating a lot of this stuff on a regular basis. So those will all be available at extremehealthradio.com/689. I'm curious what you guys think about Jason. That was really interesting, right? And I think that, for me, this is something that I feel is a big deal, because there's a lot of people that can't, they're running up against barriers in their life that they can't seem to overcome, and they don't know why. And like he said, they're trying to overcome these barriers, but they're still consuming content like TV shows, mainstream news, mainstream print articles, mainstream websites. And I like what he said. It's all really about repetition. So if you really want to get healthy and you really want to turn your health around, you have to turn all of that off, all of it, and consume content that's going to be beneficial to you. That's the only way. Because if you're constantly bombarding your subconscious mind with this garbage that's disempowering, it's designed to make you feel weak, designed to make you feel like you have no control, and really designed to make you scream out and cry out for some kind of savior, aka the government, to save you. That's what it's all designed to do, to make you feel like you're weak, to make you feel like only people in white lab coats have the answer to your health problem. But that's simply not true. We have so much more control than we think. And that's what they want you to think, is that you have no control. That's the whole purpose of that Human Genome Project, where they did all that work on the DNA, to blame everything on genetics. That's the goal, is to blame everything on genetics, and there's nothing you can do other than take pharmaceutical drugs in order to change how your genes express themselves. And that's just simply not true, and it's going to kill you. So I love stuff like this, and I love the work that he does, because it works on such a deeper level than just trying to do things in the physical world. Because what really forces or causes someone to want to make changes, that's really the crux of the whole matter, right? Like, what makes me or you want to live a long time and want to be healthy, whereas our friends and family, all they want to do is just drink and go out and party and stuff like that, right? Like what is the underlying reason for this kind of stuff? And that's really the work that you get into. So if you are someone who wants to work with Jason, I'd highly recommend doing that. Freedom from Self-Sabotage, and you can email him there, I guess, Jason at freedomfromselfsabotage. Is it .com or .org? Let me see. Take a look at his website. freedomfromselfsabotage.com. Yeah, so yeah, you can email him there, and if you get access, go check out his Zoom cancer thing, because like I mentioned before, like that's how I got involved. For those that don't know, is I got involved when my mom was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma back in 1995. Can you believe 1995? It's crazy how long ago that was. But I watched her go through that, and it just broke me down, man. I was like, first of all, where did this cancer come from? I mean, she was like 55 at the time, and like, how did this happen? Why did she get it? And no one knew. You would ask doctors and they have no clue. They just tell you a bunch of BS that they hear, that they, are taught, and they have no clue. And we didn't have any clue why this was happening. And she actually went down at one point to look at the Gerson therapy in Mexico, and went to a macrobiotic place down in San Diego. But ultimately, she chose to go with the City of Hope through chemotherapy and that. So she had chemotherapy, radiation, stem cell transplant, and surgery. And I can't tell you how quickly that aged her. Like, she went from having tons of energy and being completely healthy in one respect, right? Just in terms of fitness and things. She'd walk around totally fine. To the point where she couldn't even walk from the kitchen to the living room without stopping at the kitchen table to take a break because she was out of breath. And it just devastated my perception of what was not just normal, but what was like, I just looked at it and I thought, man, this is just barbaric. Like, there has to be a better way. And at that time I was like 21 years old and never even knew what cancer was, didn't really think about anything. At that age, you're just kind of like, you don't really think about that kind of stuff, But I just thought, like, wow, there has to be a better way. I mean, this is like barbaric to see someone lose all their hair and they can't walk and their skin's on fire and they're out of breath and they have no energy and they're throwing up all the time and they're losing weight. And it's like, what is going on here, right? So that was the initiating factor that caused me to sort of think beyond what was going on. And I realized quickly that the cancer doctors just had no clue, right? They were just doing what they were told. And so, but I didn't really know of any solutions back then, right? Back then there was no real internet. I think the internet came out in 1994. So it was super archaic at that time. You couldn't really search. And I don't think Google came out till 2000. So everyone was in the dark. And then so that kind of left an imprint on me. And then a few years later in 2003, 2003, a friend of mine gave me a book, actually 2002, called Fit for Life. And I read that book and I thought, whoa, like, first thought, like, oh my gosh, people can actually heal themselves. People don't know, or people don't have to go to a doctor and take chemotherapy drugs. Like, what? How is this possible? And how come people don't know about this? Like, and at the time I knew people that were diagnosed and I just thought, like, why don't they know about this? Like, surely the doctors would tell them, right? So young and naive. And what's fascinating too is at that time, I just got back from a trip around the world in 2001, right after 9/11. I had saved previously to either buy a house or to take a trip around the world, which I always wanted to do, to go surfing and things like that. And I have family in Australia and New Zealand. And so I decided to take a trip around the world for a year by myself. And right after 9/11, I learned, a lot of how the world really works and how people live and media and stuff like that. And so just got back from that. And then I got this book. And so my whole world was just turned upside down. And then I subsequently found David Wolfe and raw food, and realizing there's such a thing as enzymes and how the body really works, and the body is self-healing and self-regulating, and it wants to find homeostasis, and it wants to, cure disease. It wants to do all these things on its own, right? And then I thought, well, if they're lying to us about like cancer and that kind of industry, what else is not true, right? So prior to that, even, I had a friend of mine that I'd see every day when I went surfing. I'd go down and surf, and I'd park my car, and he lived right by the beach, and I'd always see him outside. And eventually he started talking to me about ancient civilizations. And he was talking to me about the pyramids and all of these ancient structures around the world. And he was sharing with me like the sheer weight and size of these civilizations and these stones they were lifting, like, 70,000 pound stones, right? Like the pyramid in Egypt, the Great Pyramid, is said to have been created over 20 years. And they actually quarried the rocks, I think, 500 miles away. And at the rate at which they would have had to have built that through horse and buggy or whatever, through the slave system, they would have had to cut a rock, dig it out of the ground, transport it, and fix it into position like a 30-ton stone. I think they would have had to have done like in 2 days or something like that. They would have transported 500 miles. Like, it just makes no sense, right? And then you start looking into like why, what you know, when you talk to archaeologists, they just poo-poo that whole idea that this is the way they did it. And it just makes no sense. And so then you start thinking, wow, what are they doing with history? What are they doing with, science? What are they doing with religion? What are they doing with archaeology? With every aspect of our life? Are we being told the truth about anything? And the more you start to dig, the more you start to realize, like, whoa, we are not being told the truth about anything in life, because it's all dominated by industry. So there's a vested interest in keeping us in the dark, a vested interest in keeping us sick. There's a vested interest in keeping us feeling like we're powerless. There's a vested interest in all of that. And the interest is keeping you a slave without even knowing it, and dependent on their system. And the work that we do and the work that Jason's doing is realizing, like, wait a second, we have ultimate control over not just our genetic destiny, but we have ultimate control over how our life plays out and whether or not we want to be a slave to this system. And so for me, I went through a little bit of a change for some time that was really upset. Like, why are they lying to us? Why? Like, they want us sick, and then you get angry. Like, these people are doing this to us, and then you start to get mad and start to get angry. But once you have a spiritual filter through which to look at all this stuff, it helps you manage all of that, because then you can just be like, you know what? I don't know who these people are, and they're secondary characters in my story, right? Like, we're all acting as part of our own story, and these people are just, secondary characters. Whenever you watch a movie, there's a main character, then there's like the supporting cast, right? So all these people are the supporting cast in our story, and the whole point of this stuff is for growth of some kind, right? Personal growth, spiritual growth, whatever you want to say. And it's really important to recognize that. So then you can learn to let go and learn to forgive and say, this is the way it is. It's fine. And they can do what they want to do, and I can do what I want to do. And you just remove any sort of emotional reaction to the anger that you have when you find out what really is going on. And if you guys, with this big C, little v that's been happening for the last year, when you start looking at the deeper, nefarious, more sinister origins of what's actually happening here, and the fact that they're suppressing and censoring information, it is what it is. But like I said to Jason before, like, it's not my job to wake people up. I have people in my life that still are thinking about getting this new medicine. I'm not going to say the V word, the new medicine. We'll just call it that. And I can't help anybody. I can't help anybody wake up. It's not my responsibility. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to convince anybody of anything. I really honestly have let all of that go. Inside our academy, when this first sort of happened, I put together this huge database of studies and resources and articles and videos straight from the horse's mouth, like Dr. Fauci himself saying certain things, and talking about the PCR test and talking about how the PCR test is really basically invalid because the threshold cycle is way too high. It's supposed to be around less than 20, but it's at like 45, and it's making all these false positives. And I have him on video saying that. I have the inventor of the PCR test, Dr. Kerry Mullis himself, talking about Fauci and how he's a fraud, and all this stuff. And it's like, at this point, I can't wake anybody up. If you want to go out and get that new medicine and jab that into your arm, more power to you. I have to let that go. I cannot invest any more time in trying to convince people, because at this point, this whole thing is it's like a religion, right? You have masking people and anti-masking people screaming and yelling at each other, and it's turned itself into a religion. And so if you want to go believe all that stuff and believe what the mainstream media is telling you, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. But for me and what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to become better every day. I'm trying to improve my health. I'm trying to have more energy. I'm trying to help more people that want help and want resources and things, and all this kind of stuff. And so this is where I'm going, in the direction that I'm going, is I can't focus anymore on that kind of stuff, because At this point, if you're still sleeping, and what is this, February 26, 2021, and you may be listening to this 5-10 years in the future if we still have an internet at that time, or a couple weeks in the future. But if you're still sleeping at this point, there's nothing more I can do for you. And one of the things I was sharing before, so this morning, Friday morning, we had our members call on Extreme Health Academy. So like I mentioned before, every Friday morning, I spend an hour with everyone. And frankly, that was so much fun. I was having such a great time. We're learning about peptides and stuff. And we're talking with Tana, our good friend through the radio show, who lives in Texas, whose husband was a former MMA fighter. And so that was a lot of fun talking with them, reconnecting with them after all these years. But anyway, we're talking about this stuff. And before that, I had a call with a private company because they're called Content Safe. And I think they might be contentsafe.co or something. But they basically, what they'll do is they'll back up all your content. So if you're a content provider like I am, what they'll do is they'll distribute your content to other social platforms, but they'll also back up everything that you have. And so anyway, I was talking with him about censorship, and he's in some other field, but he's saying there's censorship even in his field too. And it makes sense, right? Because they have to control the narrative. I was listening to Mike Adams' podcast the other day, and he was saying that, his platform, Brighteon, you can upload a video to Brighteon, but then you can't even share that on Facebook because they banned that IP, they banned that domain. So it's just fascinating to see what's going on, and it makes sense because you have to control the narrative. You cannot let people talk and share actual stories of what's going on in their real life after taking these injections of the new medicine. You can't have that. Because if you have that, then people are going to be turned off to it, and you have to control the narrative if you're controlled yourself by the deep state, which I believe they are. And so anyway, at the end of the conversation with this guy from Content Safe, I told him, I said, dude, just so you know, ultraviolet blood irradiation therapy and high-dose IV vitamin C therapy, although I don't recommend the latter because of what it does to your copper levels in your body. It basically depletes copper, which causes oxidation because copper is the only mineral that opposes iron in your body. And we have way too much iron through the Iron Fortification Project that started in 1941 and doubled again in 1969, according to Morley Robbins, adding iron filings into our food. This iron, when it's exposed to oxygen, is causing rust and oxidation. That's one of the reasons why I use my AquaCure. But we have all this iron, and so what happens when you take IV vitamin C, which is normally ascorbic acid, it causes that ceruloplasmin protein to fold to the right instead of to the left. And when it does that, it folds the wrong way. It actually dumps out copper and causes copper to be unbound. Even though Morley says there's no such thing as unbound copper, it's not loaded into that really critical protein called ceruloplasmin. And when it's not loaded into that, it's not usable to be able to deal with all that iron in your body. And so anyway, I don't recommend IV vitamin C therapy, but hey, if I were on death's door, I would definitely use it because most people don't realize this, but look up the work of Dr. Frederick Klenner, 1930s, bringing kids back from viral diseases that were in a coma, bringing them back to life using high-dose IV vitamin C therapy. So although, yes, it burns out copper and causes copper to be unbound and not usable, if it's going to save your life, it's going to save your life. So, it's context about all this kind of stuff, right? So anyway, this guy didn't know any of that. And so I said, hey, just so you know, look up someone who does ultraviolet blood irradiation therapy. That is extracting your blood. And this has been known as well since the 1940s, reversing viral infection, preventing viruses from being able to replicate. Oregano does this, and ozone does this. I mean, so many different things do this. So you can go to acam.org, acam.org. I'll put a link in the show notes for this too if you guys want. acam.org. And find someone who does ultraviolet blood irradiation therapy. And what they do is they extract your blood and they run it through these certain frequencies of light, like methylene blue and different frequencies. And then they reintroduce that blood back into your body. So you have IVs in both arms. It comes out of, say, your right arm and goes through the machine, exposed to all these frequencies of light. And then it comes out of the machine and then goes back into your body. And then it carries those photonic exchanges of energy throughout your whole body and disables viral replication. So it's like, wow, right? Average person doesn't know that. And so that's why I said to this guy, like, hey, just so you know, look up acam.org, ultraviolet blood radiation therapy, IV vitamin C therapy. Just have that in your back pocket in case anything ever happens, right? No need to be afraid. No need to take an injection of a new medicine. No need for any of that stuff. But this is what I was saying earlier. This stuff is suppressed. They don't want you to know about this. They don't want you to know about all the studies you can look up on PubMed with silver even. Disabling the replication potential of viruses. Preventing viruses from entering the cell. They don't want you to look up even pharmaceutical drugs that can do this. Because they're selling the V. They're selling the new medication. This is the whole thing. And so they want you sick, and they want you dependent and beholden to them. This isn't medicine. This is serious stuff. And this whole big C, little V thing going on right now, it's bigger than any of us know. It's not going back to normal. I think masks are here for good, unless we fight back, unless we stand up and say no. Last I checked, people aren't covering their ears. They're not covering their eyes. Half of the people are wearing masks without even covering their nose. They're not trained on how to properly wear the mask. They're not trained on how to clean the mask. They're not trained on how to dispose of the mask once they're done or to clean it. I mean, this whole thing is just ridiculousness. It's ridiculous. You know, the mask was designed for surgeries, for preventing a doctor who's performing a surgery from cutting the body open, from accidentally sneezing, and to prevent those particles of saliva getting into an open wound. That's what the masks were designed for. They're not designed to stop viral pandemics. I mean, this is nuts. People have no idea. So this is a really challenging time. Really, really challenging time. And this is the time more than ever that we need to come together as a group and support each other and all be on the same page. Like, this is where we really need to come down and support each other in a digital way, if that's all we got. Like in our academy, we have a member map, so you can place yourself on a member map and you can find other people in your area. We have calls, live calls every single week. I think we're doing eight live sessions a month. No, 6. Is it 6? Yeah, and so it's really important, guys, to invest in your health, invest in your own life, invest in becoming healthier. This is where it's at, guys. And just, try not to convince anybody of anything. Let that whole thing go. I'll end on this because this is a really powerful thing. And this is the kind of stuff we talk about in the Zoom rooms in our academy every Friday morning. But this is one final kind of tidbit on that, is that when you put yourself in a position where you're trying to help people who don't want to be helped, you're on the path to becoming more sick than they are. Just think about that. So when you're trying to help someone that doesn't want your help, you're starting the process of breakdown and sickness and disease in your own life. And it's really weird how that works. There's something called Cartman's Drama Triangle that I shared with our academy members a couple weeks ago. And that is, every human being lives and operates in one of 3 energy fields, and that is the victim, the helper, and the perpetrator. And we sort of float between these 3 fields all the time, right? At some points in our life, we may be the perpetrator. Some points in our life, we may be the victim. But generally, we spend the most time in one of those 3 fields. That's our default state. And when we have those 3 fields like that, you would think that the person who is the most strong and robust in their immune system is not the person you would think they would be, right? So I don't know about you, but I always find myself in the helper, aspect of this, trying to help everyone, right? The person they found with the weakest immune system is not the perpetrator, or it's not the victim, it's the helper, oddly enough. And the person with the strongest immune system, oddly enough, is the perpetrator. And we can see this in our life. Like, you see those people that just don't give a crap about what anybody else thinks. They don't care what anyone thinks. They do their own thing. They're strong-willed. They're just going out, living their life, doing what they want to do with no remorse, right? Maybe it's like comedians like George Burns that, smokes cigars and smokes all the way up until his 104th birthday. These are typically people that are doing their work and they're passionate about what they do, and they drink Coca-Cola and they eat fast food. These are the people that live the longest because they just go out and do their thing, right? But the problem is us as helpers weaken ourselves to this extent that we feel like we need to help other people. When we do that, we give our power away, we give our energy away, and we begin the process of becoming more sick than they are. And that's because we're giving up our own power to do that. And so what I think it was Freud that was talking about this Cartman's drama triangle was like, you want to turn that triangle, the victim, the perpetrator, and the helper, into a three-dimensional pyramid. And you want to rise up and pull that into a third dimension where you're in a fourth person in that, and you're the person that sits on top of all of that, like sitting on top of a pyramid, not invested in any one of those three positions. You're the silent observer to them all, right? Without investing your own power and your own energy into any one of those three systems, and you're just there as a facilitator, right? So health really comes down to lots of different factors: your environment, the people you're around, the media you consume, your own thoughts, your subconscious mind. All of these things are involved in how long we live, our disease process, and our subconscious programming. All that stuff is affected by this. So I hope you enjoyed that show. That was awesome. 689. So I'll put links to, I got links to, let's see some of the stuff he talked about. I got links to the Death by Medicine book he mentioned by Gary Knoll, Marissa Peer, who is the meditation expert that he mentioned, or the hypnosis, the Caffeine Blues book, as well as the Challenge to Succeed program by Jim Rohn that I mentioned, and then that Dirty Grandpa trailer, and then the Carolyn Mace book, which I read one of her books a long time ago. She's great, and a bunch of other stuff too, as well as the sponsors of today's show, which is the AquaCure product, the Colostrum, which is still on sale, 20% off. Use the code HEALTHY2021 all the way until February 28th. Let me see. February 28th, 2021. So 2 more days. The code is HEALTHY2021. Go through our link, and that'll support the show. 20% off. It's a once-a-year sale, so make sure to stock up, as well as the Magnetico sleep pad and the Relax Far Infrared Sauna. I'll put all those links and everything available at extremehealthradio.com/689. Boom. There you go. I hope you guys enjoyed that show. If you did, share it with your friends. Sorry I went on a bit of a rant after the show, but so much to talk about. Make sure to subscribe to our show. All the cool shows coming up. Next week, Dr. Seth Gerlach, we're going to talk about the V word and what's actually contained in them. Steenblock, anti-aging, stem cell therapy. Morley Robbins, we're going to talk about copper and iron and how copper harnesses oxygen on planet Earth. Dr. Nunley, we got Dr. Cass Ingram coming up. A lot of cool stuff coming up, so make sure to subscribe. All right, guys, I hope to see you in the Academy. That would be really great. I love helping people and getting to know you guys inside the Academy every week, every day in the forums. I'm in there. So if you want to work with me directly, you can do that inside the Extreme Health Academy. I don't do consultations. It's much easier for me to help more people and to get to know you personally inside the Academy. So if you want a 2-week trial, which I would highly recommend, free access for 2 weeks to everything we have. And just a little note too, we're starting a private podcast, which is going to be the audio versions of everything, all the courses. We've got almost 1,000 hours of content in there, from workshops to Q&A sessions with Dr. Bergman, to courses, to Q&A sessions that I've done, Zoom room hangouts. All that's going to be available as a podcast. So if you're a member, you get free access to that private podcast. But if you cancel or pause your subscription, then you will lose access to the audio versions of that. So join up, guys. I'm telling you guys, this is an awesome community. Join up at extremehealthacademy.com. Use the code EHR14 for a free 2-week trial, and get ready to learn some things that you probably never heard of anywhere else in the world. And this is what my job is, to aggregate all of this content, from spiritual to growth to personal development to so many different aspects of healing, mineral balancing, all this kind of stuff is super, super important. And tying it all together is really important. So come and join us in the Academy and work with me directly. And that would be awesome. And I'd love to help you out any way I possibly can. So make sure to do that. And there we go. There's the music. Nice. All right, guys. Love you so much. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you all so much. Again, we'll put links to Jason's websites and the sponsors and all the show notes at extremehealthradio.com/689. Please do me a favor. Share the show. Please. I really appreciate it. Share the show with your friends on Instagram. That would be amazing. All right. Love you guys. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next Friday morning. If you're an Academy member, I'll see you next Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific. And can't wait to connect with you. Love you guys. See you soon.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any information in this blog or to start any health program without first consulting a health professional. The content found here is for informational purposes only and is in no way intended as medical advice, as a substitute for medical counseling, or as a treatment/cure for any disease or health condition, and nor should it be continued as such. Always work with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, prescription drug use, lifestyle, or exercise activities. This information is provided as is, and the reader/viewer assumes all risks from the use, non-use, or misuse of this information.